This event is sponsored by two organizations that are committees of the Chamber. One is the Business Education Committee, and the other is the Government Affairs. I want to thank those two committees and the people who work on that, who help plan this event and bring this event together as a way to educate the business community and the community at large about issues that go on in Novato and that are important to the business community as a whole. A couple other quick thank yous. I want to thank Patsy White in the front of the room from League of Women Voters. She is our timer today, and for all of you candidates up here, please take note of her 30-second and stop signs. 30 seconds means you have 30 seconds left to give your comment. Stop means exactly that, stop. Okay? And Dick will be enforcing that as much as he can. Okay? I also want to let you know that this is being videotaped by Novato Public Access Television. It will air after today on NPAT several times over the next couple of weeks or months. I want to thank Pam Hazley from Jazzed About Media, who is doing the videotaping and recording today, and will make the edits to make sure that it gets on the air. So all you candidates are warned. This will be televised beyond today. All right. I would like to make sure that this discussion is polite, respectful to the candidates and to the people in the audience. We would like to refrain from there being outbursts from anyone in the audience, applause all the time. It will just disrupt the process that we're going through here. I handed out some business cards to you. If you have a question you would potentially like to have asked, write the question down, just wave it in the air. One of us will come around and grab it from you, and we'll give it to the moderator, and the moderator, Dick, will decide which questions will be asked. There's a series of questions that will be asked first that were developed by the Government Affairs Committee and the Chamber Board. Then there will be questions from the audience asked after that. So I can't promise your question will be asked, but it might be asked. All right? And with that, I want to turn it over to Dick Spotswood, columnist for the Marin IJ, who graciously has moderated our candidates forums for many, many years for us. He does a superb job and makes sure that it runs smooth and fair and is well done. So Dick, it's all yours.
All 7 candidates were invited. All 7 candidates responded. And right now, 5 of them are here. I want to thank the 5 for getting up early in the morning and coming to talk to their fellow citizens. I want to thank you for getting up early in the morning and coming because you know how important this is. The process is pretty simple. It's designed to be fair and neutral. And that is that instead of doing alphabetical, I always was prejudiced by that. My name started with S. It wasn't fair to me. I never got to go first. We do a little lottery. And in fact, the order this morning will be Eleanor Sluice will be number 1. Madeline Kellner will be 2nd. Leslie Peterson-Schwartz will be 3rd. Eric Lucan will be 4th. And Gene McLeamy will be 5th. Mr. Gelati comes, he'll be 6th. That's the way we'll start. And thereafter, we'll do a rotation so that the first person on one question will be the last person on the next, and everybody will have a chance to go first and do it. So neutral as can be. When we do the conclusion, we'll follow that same routine as we keep going through. The ground rules are pretty simple. Everybody has 90 seconds to make an opening statement. I know this is all brief, but we want to get as many questions as possible in. After they have the 90-second opening statement, we'll start with the questions. The first questions will come from the Chamber of Commerce. Our questions today are aimed at the business community. Fortunately, there are multiple forums in the city of Novato where people will have opportunities to have specialized questions in their particular areas. Today is the business community to ask questions of these great candidates. After they give their opening statements, we'll start with those chamber questions. Each person will have 1 minute. As we mentioned before, Patsy White is the timer from the League of Women Voters, and she will put up the cards. As my mother used to say, stop means stop. And at the end, we will enforce that pretty much. We'll probably give you 5-10 seconds leeway, but finish the sentence if you're in, or the next sentence if you would. But that really will be pretty much. No rebuttals will be permitted. But everybody will answer every question, so everybody gets their shot. There will be points rewarded if you say, me too, to the person before you, because it doesn't necessarily have to take the whole minute if you don't think so. Do you support America? Yes, 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 that's right. Me too. When we finish that, we are going to the community, that's you folks, and you'll handle file cards. I'll sort through the file cards, really to aim at business questions. That's what I'm looking for. Business-related questions, something that affects the business community. Same rules, 1 minute, no rebuttal. When that's finished and we get the sign, time to go, each one of these good people will have 90 seconds to conclude. When that's over, we thank the Southern Pacific Smokehouse again and say thank you. And they all indicated to me that they are prepared to linger and to chat with you at the right time. So if there's any questions from the panel, the audience doesn't get questions at this stage. Any questions from the panel? Yours come later. Let's start with Eleanor, whose ballot designation, I'm going to read their ballot designation. Eleanor Sluice is a retired teacher. Eleanor, 90 seconds.
Okay, we have a couple of choices here in Novato. I'm Eleanor Sluice, and I've run before. I'm a retired teacher, and I'm very active in supporting all of our neighborhoods. I'm picking this from Tom McDonald and his budget on a stick. We can either go for canned sardine packed into a lot of different places that we don't want, or we can go for a bouquet, which for me reminds me of Novato. We're growing, we want to grow in the right way. I appreciate Novato. So these are important issues in how we go about creating a garden full of opportunities for all of us here in Novato. Because if we pack people close, dense, like sardines, then we can't have much opportunity to change. I moved here 19 years ago, and that's when I decided after teaching to retire. Everything changes, but I want to make sure that Novato changes for the better. And as a city council member, I will put a stop to unfavorable development and ensure that the words that affordable housing and Novato are put into a favorable light. So we have to have our neighborhoods remain sacrosanct, and that really ties into business. We need transparency and accountability, and I'm sure the other people will be talking a lot about that, which I totally agree. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Madeline Kellner, and I've had the pleasure to serve you on the council for the last 4 years, and this last year as the mayor of Novato. We have just gone through the worst financial crisis in the city's history, and we're not through it yet. But in that process of that crisis, we've kept the city solvent and we've maintained vital city services. I want to continue to step it up for Novato, and I can strongly say that over the last 4 years, I have been able to put a lot of traction on the goals that I set for the city. And I'll briefly go over those. In terms of the budget, we've maintained a balanced budget every year and still managed to maintain the quality of life in our city in terms of public safety, our streets, and our senior services without breaking the bank. We've gotten the public to see the need, and we've gotten a 5-year short-term half-cent sales tax. We restored our city hall. We've brought vitality to our downtown, where we have a green, where we can do things during the day, and of course in the evening hold our community meetings. We have developed the beginning of a plan around our North Redwood corridor, which we want to relaunch now that our affordable housing work is on its way. And we've shown that we can work together with others. We just broke ground with the school district on a Hamilton gym. Working together, we can do more. I'm honored to serve you as mayor this year. I believe I've kept things on a good track. We've got a lot more to do. We've got an ambitious agenda, and I want to serve you for 4 more years to make sure that we carry out that agenda. Thank you.
Good morning. My husband and I moved to Novato in 1992, having lived in Connecticut and commuted into New York City. We chose Novato because we wanted to be in Marin. We loved the pastoral setting. 5 years after we moved here, I ran for and was elected to the Novato School Board because I thought we could do a better job of improving academic achievement. I served for 12 years through many budget crises, teacher layoffs, and difficult contract negotiations. With this experience, I believe I will be an asset on the council. I'm not afraid to analyze budgets, bills, and policies. With additional experience as the gubernatorially appointed chair of the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, I understand Sacramento politics, state government operations, and the power struggle we now face trying to retain our local control. The tagline for my campaign is fighting for Novato's future with leadership and experience. I chose this because I believe we are fighting for our future. Last year at a Greenbelt Alliance presentation, it was announced that Marin has 27 acres of open space per person. By the year 2035, the goal is to get us down to 1 acre per person, and this is to be achieved by touching no open space. Anyone who does not find this alarming has no appreciation for just how wonderful Novato is. Most residents moved here because of the beautiful surroundings and small town appeal. We are the hidden gem of the North Bay, the gateway to the wine country, a great place to live and raise your family, and I'm not afraid to fight for Novato. Thank you.
To start, I want to tell you a little bit about my background and why I decided to run for the City Council. I was born and raised right here in Novato, and I'm proud to say that I'm a product of the Novato public school system, having graduated from Novato High. Following graduation, I went on to earn my college degree and my MBA at Georgia State University before moving back home to start my career in marketing. I have years of experience as a small business consultant as well as a marketing manager for a large restaurant franchise. Today I work for Kimpton Hotels in San Francisco, directing many of the company's loyalty marketing programs. My wife Kylie is also from Novato, and when we decided to settle down and buy our home, Novato was a simple choice. We both wanted to stay in Novato because we love living here so much. Over the years, I've been actively involved in our community. Currently, I serve on the Novato Parks and Recreation Commission, and I've also volunteered with the Novato Police Department and acted as a youth director and athletic coach to students. My three main priorities are developing a financially sustainable budget, improving our public safety levels to provide protection that our residents deserve, and repairing our infrastructure, public facilities, and parks through pragmatic fiscal decision making. Most importantly, I will always listen to the ideas and concerns of our fellow residents. Novato is truly a special place, and I'm ready to give back to this great community that has benefited me so much by serving on the Novato City Council. Thank you.
Gene.
Thank you, Dick, and thank you all for coming this morning, and my fellow candidates this morning. This Sunday marks the 10th anniversary of 9/11, and I want to express my deep gratitude for those responsible for keeping our community and our country safe every day. I'm also grateful for our Novato residents who have passionately participated in City Council and council meetings, or committee meetings, about the issues that affect their property, their pocketbook, and their safety. And I don't characterize this participation as rage, but rather being engaged in the democratic process. I truly enjoy working with people, listening carefully to their concerns and your ideas. We do our homework, we learn new things, and although we may not always agree, we can still find a good solution to our problems and then move forward to getting something accomplished together. I have three overarching issues I'll go into later to keep us vibrant and safe and sustainable: fiscal responsibility and sustainability, facilities, infrastructure maintenance and improvements, and land use, which is a balance between our environment, neighborhoods, and housing and economic development. And to continue accomplishing these goals, we have to continue to work with residents of Novato to solve our critical problems. We have to collaborate to change legislation that impinges on our local controls and bring undue risk to our taxpayers. And we need to continue no tolerance to influences that tear our fabric of our community and that injure our youth and drain our coffers. As an architect and business owner and council member, be honored to serve another term on the council. Thank you.
We're now going to start the questions from the Chamber of Commerce, and as I indicated before, there's a rotation. And since Eleanor started with the opening statement, and the second place person was Madeline Keller would be the first person to answer question number one. Leslie, just so you know, you'll be second, Eric third, Jean fourth, and Eleanor fifth. So that's the rotation, and every time we'll change it accordingly. Let's start with question number one. Again, these are from the Chamber. Last year, Novato citizens approved Measure F, a temporary sales tax increase. Yet the city's fiscal crisis persists. The latest projections are for a $3 million deficit in the year, followed by the expiration of Measure F. How would you spend the Measure F funds, and what specifically are you prepared to do to address the end of Measure F funding? Madeline Kellner.
Yes, well, we knew when we passed that 5-year, or when you passed the 5-year half-cent sales tax, that it wasn't going to be a panacea, and that at the end of the 5 years, depending on the economy, that we may not be out of the woods. So we have been very, very careful, very thoughtful about those dollars. We didn't start collecting them until April of this year, and coming up in just a couple of weeks, we're beginning a process where we really examine the projections over the next 5 years and begin to chart a glide path for how at the end of that 5 years we are going to have a sustainable budget, meaning a balance of our revenues with our services. We cannot do that alone. We have to work very closely with our community, and it's going to be similar to the process that we had a year and a half ago when we worked on our 2-year budget. So we don't have the answers yet, but we want to be very careful and thoughtful about how we allocate those dollars so that we do have a sustainable budget at the end of year 5.
Thank you, Madeline. Leslie Peterson-Schwartz.
Well, having not been involved with this yet, but having been involved with budget decisions on the school board, one of the things I think we have to be concerned about is that we have a mindset right now of panic. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the state's going to do to us, for us, against us. And in that mindset, we tend to look at, how are we going to make cuts? And everything is about making cuts. At the same time, wow, only 30 seconds? That took a minute for me to say that? My goodness. Oh, I thought it was, okay. Well, I'm already messing up then. The mindset issue is, instead of thinking about how we're going to raise fees, raise taxes, I really would like to get in and see where our efficiencies are. Because I have a funny feeling, based on what I'm hearing from the business community, that there's some waste going on in how we actually govern. And I would love to be able to have a hand at looking at what's going on in that regard, as opposed to always worrying about our budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Eric Lucan.
Thank you. The Measure F funds have given us some, patch the gap a little bit for these next couple years, but we need to start addressing the situation now rather than waiting for the time when we are facing a $3 million budget deficit. Some things that I think that we can be doing, we need to be very strategic in what we're doing with our city offices. And hope that those costs come in at a reasonable price. And I think we need to continue to look at all of the options that are out there on the table, because that is a large amount of money that we have to invest in ways that will cut our expenses or increase additional revenue later on down the road. We need to continue to work with all of our employee groups. They know of the situation that's 3 years out. I think we need to start working with them, talking with them now to address those situations and how we can come together and reach consensus there so we don't have to make further cuts. There's the possibility of leasing and selling assets that the City of Novato owns. The City of Novato has a lot of land. I don't know that we've been the best asset manager with everything that the city has over the years. We need to eliminate redundancies, share resources, and long-term revenue generation, additional retail, hotels, transient occupancy tax, all that needs to be looked at.
Thank you, Eric. Jane McLeamy.
Thank you. The City of Novato has faced many fiscal hits. We've had state takeaways, decline in our tax revenues, as you all know, and the worst economy ever. We have to come to grips with what we have now, which is a $2.5 million structural deficit every year for the next 5 years. That's what Measure F is supposed to help us get out of. We need to have income that's adequate to cover our expenses and our long-term needs. So what we need to do is we can't spend one-time money, which is what this Measure F money is, on ongoing expenses. We could use it to help perhaps buy down our pension costs and things like that. We also will be analyzing all of our pension costs and liabilities. We have a consultant to do that. We're also looking at all our compensation so that we really have the tools to work with on how we tackle our budget problems. We are going to be improving technology and looking at repurposing many of our properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Eleanor Sluice.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, So yes, our local government budget, our staff, our resources are being severely tested in these challenging economic times. Local governments may not have the capacity to do all that at once to help promote or ensure the success of their programs, activities, and initiatives. I'm taking this from the Marin Association of Realtors, and they want to be involved with helping the city. So it has to be a public-private partnership. Of course, we will always get the budget on time, and the biggest thing right now, Measure F, has to do with safety, and the people want to feel safe. So whatever that takes has to be a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Second question, and just so we know to start with, Leslie, you will start with the first answer. Citizens for Sustainable Pension Plans has requested all council members and candidates running in Marin County to sign the following pledge. I recognize that public employee retirement costs are unsustainable and are a true threat to the ability of Marin County to maintain vital services and to preserve our quality of life. I commit to control these costs, make every attempt to end all practices that contribute to this crisis, and to make the retirement system more transparent. For issues that require changes in the law, I will actively support legislation that will facilitate these changes. I pledge that all of my actions as an office holder will reflect and be true to this commitment. End of pledge. Questions to the candidates? Do you intend to sign the pledge? If not, why not? Leslie.
Well, that doesn't take a minute. Yes?
Thank you, Leslie. Points to Leslie. Eric Lincoln.
How about yes plus?
Yes, I do.
These guys are good. Gene McCleamy.
I want to say something first. First of all, Novato has never had a super rich pension. We have never had retirement health benefits, and so we're a bit ahead of the game in terms of our liabilities. However, we do have some folks that are getting large pensions because of various steps that we've had, but we also have folks that are at the low end of the rung that are having to have 3 jobs. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to have all of our pension costs and liabilities reviewed, as well as our other pension compensation. We've made tremendous strides the last 2 years with this last labor agreement to get some pension controls and reforms, and we're going to do more. I want to really understand what I'm signing before I sign it. I totally believe in pension reform, but I really want to sit down and work with labor to make sure that we've got a sustainable pension system and that it's fair. Thank you.
Does that mean you'll sign the pledge or not sign the pledge?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, fair enough. Eleanor Sluice.
At this time, I fully agree with Gene McCleamy. I am a teacher and have been in the union, and for women, unions and must not be cut, which means the pay for women should not be cut, which means their pensions. When I know teachers who only have $300 a month, and they're living in Southern California. So to sign, if this has anything to do with getting rid of unions, my answer is no. I am very much pro-labor agreements. And so this petition, if it makes it more efficient, and in 3 years, it will be looked at again. I think the city has done a fair enough job of looking at and negotiating with, and they've got a good feeling and working with the employees now. So I would not do anything to jeopardize that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Madeline.
I have not seen the pledge, and I agree with Jean. I would certainly like to see it before I sign it. I think we're well on our path to pension reform here in Novato, and we have not been one of the richer plans. So already starting, I think, from a stronger point. We have not had retiree health, which I think is bankrupting a lot of jurisdictions. We've already done a second tier. We've started the employee pickup of the employer contribution. We've already instituted a 3-year average on determining pension. And we have had very good relationships with our unions in working through some of these changes. And we're starting right after the first of the year, given some research that we're doing, to work again with labor. And I think and you might have seen in the paper, the fellow that represents 10 to 1 that we work with realizes that we really need to partner together. So I think we're on very strong footing to do more moving forward.
Thank you very much, Madeline. The next question, and Eric Lucan, you will start with the first question. It's a brief question. If elected, what would you do to enhance city revenue?
Going back to some of the points I mentioned before on enhancing city revenue, a couple things that we can do. The city offices are a start there. We've got $15 million that we're looking to put into downtown city offices. And that will save us a monthly lease payment that we currently pay. However, it's a $15 million investment for not a very large return. I believe those funds might be better invested in other areas of the community. I hope that the price tag comes in well under $15 million so that there are funds that can be used in other places in the community. I think utilizing some of the land that we have, some of the assets we have for leasing them, continue to eliminate redundancy, sharing resources with the other districts, the school district, the water district, the fire district, the sanitation district. And then also the long-term sustainability. We have a very small portion of land zoned for retail here in Novato, only 5% compared to 11%, I believe 17% in Petaluma and San Rafael, so we need to start thinking long-term there.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Jean.
Yes. First of all, on the city's lease, we are currently paying a lease of $650,000 a year, which will continue to increase. We have 3 years before that lease is terminated. So what we would be doing is using one-time money from the redevelopment payback to the general fund to eliminate an ongoing expense. We won't save all of the $650,000, but a significant portion of it that then can be used for ongoing expenses. That's one of the prime directives of our cutbacks. Also, pension reform. We need to work in having employees pick up more of the cost of their portion of the pension. And again, we'll work with them on that particular issue. That's the quickest way that we can save some dollars in terms of labor. Also, as been mentioned, we do need to partner with others. We need to repurpose some of our properties and see if we can let those loose so others can develop them in an appropriate way. Thank you very much.
Jean, thank you. Eleanor?
Yes, it is a question. What is your question?
The Chamber's question
Yeah.
is, if elected, what would you do to enhance city revenue?
Okay, that goes back to what I'm all about. It's a team spirit, and I want to be on this team to work with not only the council, the staff, and the public. And it's the public that has been left out. And it's the public who feels, the business people who feel it's a waste of money to put $15 million downtown in that parking area. And instead, in fact, I'm going to encourage all of you, please support Novato Theater and school fuel. That's where the money needs to be spent. So those are areas where I will be advocating. The other thing is that we really have to look at the new developments coming in should be market rate units because it impacts the schools when we have way too many people as in Richmond, Oakland, and even Santa Rosa and in San Rafael. We have way too many people who are going to need resources. So we need, as a business community, to work together, and I have been in business, I do know something about it, and it's all about the budget and being efficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Madeline?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that we can do around our revenues. And first of all, cutting down our $650,000 a month we're spending on rent over here across the way, I think will be a very important thing for us to do. And I think we're all committed to keeping the costs down on that building. So we'll have the revenue left over from that we can use for other purposes. I think we could be doing more to partner with other districts. I've begun some conversations with the sanitary district about the fact that they have the garbage contract, but we're really not getting any support for the impact of those garbage trucks on our streets. So I think we've begun some work there. We need to activate the Hamilton properties, get things moving, bring in revenue. The North Redwood Corridor, there's already a plan that was worked on about a year ago. We need to get back to that and bring some vitality to that area, linking it into the vitality of our downtown. We need to remind people that they need to shop here in Novato. And of course, pension reform, as we talked about earlier.
Thank you, Madeline. Leslie?
I don't know, by the time you come down to the fifth person here, there's not a lot more that can be said about how we can enhance revenue. But I want everybody to remember that when it comes to government, enhancing revenue means raising fees and taxes. That's revenue enhancement for government, in my opinion. And so I really do want to start looking at some of the places where we have waste or extensive overuse of things. We had an 8-page form to fill out to be a graffiti volunteer, and 10 people watched 34 volunteers learn how to be a graffiti volunteer, and then the city didn't do diddly-do with those people for something like 3 or 4 months. So revenue enhancement for a government agency means how are we going to raise back taxes and fees? And as a businesswoman, I really just want to know, where are we wasting money, first and foremost, before I look around for how I'm going to increase revenue.
Thank you, Leslie. Before we go to the next question, there's a very good question for the moderator. And the question was simple. How many people running for office in Novato this year? How many people do you get to vote for? The answer is 7 candidates. There are 3 seats available for elections to the Novato City Council, and voters get to vote 3 ballots, so you get to pick 3 candidates. They're not ranked in any particular way like San Francisco, just a clean. You get to vote for 3, a maximum of 3. You don't have to vote for 3, but you have a maximum of 3. Let's go to the next question, and let's start by pointing out that Gene McCleavy will be number 1 in answering the question, do you believe that all new substantial commercial development, e.g. Hannah Ranch, should include some portion of affordable housing? Question. Why or why not? Gene?
Thank you. I do not believe that all substantial commercial development should have affordable housing. If it makes sense from a land planning standpoint, absolutely. But if it doesn't, there's no need for the state mandates on affordable housing to drive our land use and how we choose to use it. Hannah Ranch is an example that has very little access. It's right by the freeway. It's not a wonderful place to put housing. And there may be a way to work out other opportunities for housing nearby. North Redwood Corridor may or may not be an opportunity to have some affordable housing. The main thing is we've got these state mandates that require dense, clustered, discriminatory, in my opinion, housing, and we need to be able to scatter it like we have with our inclusionary housing. Because neighborhoods don't want high density income housing, low income housing next to them, and therefore they say put it with the commercials so it's away from us. There are other solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Next responder is Eleanor.
I'm going to ask you to repeat it again.
Of course.
My mind is going in different directions.
Of course, it doesn't count on your time. Do you believe that all new substantial commercial development, e.g. Hannah Ranch, should include some portion of affordable housing? Why or why not? Eleanor?
And I have to agree with Gene, not all. It depends on the location, depends on the business people, depends on what's the benefit, what's the objective here. If we're going to put very low income and squish them all together like a can of sardines, my answer is no. If we're going to, as Gene said, cluster very low and low income, and the real problem is in four 4 more years or less, we have to start thinking about where are we going to put 700 more low and very low income housing. And I do not like the idea of making poverty pockets. So it's going to have to be a work together with the community in solving this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Madeline?
No, I don't think that every commercial development needs to have housing. I think that that's a one-size-fits-all approach, and I think from my 4 years on the Planning Commission, when you evaluate a development, you really look at how it really works together. Is it near transportation? Is there access? Is there nearby schools? I think the thing that strikes me about the Hannah site is that it is very isolated. The access is not great, except perhaps to cross the street to Costco, but it really isn't an ideal place for housing. So I think that our planning efforts in the city really need to look at all of the different factors. Quite frankly, we did include the site behind Trader Joe's, and one of the things that we want to do in order to really make sure that whole area up there in the North Redwood corridor works is we want to do a site plan. So we have a real understanding of how all that's going to work together. So I think that's really the direction we need to take.
Thank you, Madeline. Leslie?
I think you have to separate out what the question is, because substantial commercial development versus the Hannah Ranch project, they're two different things. Substantial commercial development that brings in high-paying jobs is not a problem. But if you bring in a commercial development that has low-paying jobs like retail, like restaurants, like hotel workers, the state says you are going to have to find some housing for those workers. So the question would be, okay, if not there, then when? Where? Where are you going to put it? So I don't have a problem with substantial commercial development not all having to have exactly what they're supposed to have right there on site, except for that, where are you supposed to put it? If we're going to bring in projects that have low-paying jobs, we are supposed to provide housing for those low-paying jobs. So where are you going to put it?
Thank you, Leslie. Eric?
No, I don't believe that we need to make that as a requirement for all future commercial development. I'll speak specifically to the Hannah Ranch project because I know that's been on the top of everyone's mind. With having the proposed hotel there, 116-room hotel there, that could potentially bring in $20,000 to $25,000 a month to the city in terms of transient occupancy tax, which could fund 2 extra police officers. That's what I believe is important. I believe that we need those types of developments to bring us that revenue that we need. And if we put so many restrictions on a project like that that could potentially help what we're hearing from the community, that we need more police officers, we need to be careful that we don't put so many restrictions that projects like that go away and then everybody loses out.
Thank you, Eric. Next question, and Eleanor, by the way, you'll be the first responder. The August 28, 2011 front page headline of the Marin Independent Journal branded Novato a city of rage. This causes severe damage to Novato's image and is bad for property values, business, and schools. What specifically are you prepared to do to counter or repair this image of Novato? Eleanor?
Well, first, as a mother and grandmother, I feel like Mama Grizzly Bear, and I'm not a member of the Tea Party, but it's like you want to protect all 28 square miles of Novato. And it's like, when you bring up children, you know how they fight, and mature adults certainly get angry and frustrated. And we all have problems with communicating, and communicating well. So I think it's an issue of keeping a positive attitude and working with everybody so that Mama Grizzlies don't get angry about crowded, lack of food, crowded conditions, and not being involved with the staff and with the rest of the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Madeline?
You know, I've been out walking precincts the last several weeks, and I have to say, this is not a city of rage. I can tell you, behind all those doors, there are so many people that love this town, that want to stay here, that want to look out for their neighbors. Attended a Get Ready Novato session this week. Over 35 people there wanting to make sure that they're safe, that they can make sure that their people with mobility issues on their block are safe. What can I do? This is not a city of rage. I think the paper focused on a lot of our challenges this year having to do with affordable housing, where I think is an issue that is very close to people's hearts. It's economic. It's about their homes, their castle. I think we've moved on. I think we've moved through. I think I've done a good job this year as mayor, officiating over the meetings and maintaining a level of civility. I think we're on our way, and I think we need to just counter that with, we're doing just fine here in Novato.
Thanks, Madeline. Leslie?
Okay, I'm one of the ragers. You know what? There's something seriously wrong with our newspaper calling the fact that people go to those meetings a city of rage. Except for a few isolated individuals who aren't polite in public, which I would argue exist in any community, I have not seen what they're talking about. And I know the reporter is sitting in the room, and I really question how they came up with rage, other than it makes a nice headline and people buy papers because of it. We are not misbehaving. We are acting with the rights that we have as citizens in a country where you are allowed to say what you want to your elected officials. And as far as I can tell, it has been, for the most part, very polite, except for the possible example of what happened at the Margaret Todd Center, when it was the outside ABAG and HCD person there. And frankly, that was a fun event because people said what they really thought because they could say it to outsiders. So we weren't exactly nice that night. But to our elected officials, we've been very polite.
Leslie, thank you. Eric?
I don't believe Novato is a city of rage. I grew up in this community. I absolutely love this community. As I interact with people all throughout the community, commuting on the bus, people I talk to from Novato, they're not all angry. Are there some angry people out there? Absolutely. You're going to find that in any city. Is there some rage out there? Sure, there's some people that are upset. But for the most part, I don't believe Novato is a city of rage. As a council, if elected to the council, one of my top goals is going to be to build consensus as much as we can to the community through clear and transparent government. I believe that if elected, I might not be able to make everybody happy, but hopefully I can make a few people a little less angry.
Thank you, Eric. Gene?
They say if it bleeds, it leads, and that's exactly what happened. I don't believe either that this is a city of rage. We have a few people that are angry, but they've, for the most part, been very respectful at our council meetings. Who wouldn't be upset if people are coming after your pocketbook or affecting your pocketbook and your property? Every time we've had a development in town, single developments, we've always had the neighbors come out and protest that it's too big. Well, all of a sudden, we put 15 or more properties out there, so we had 15 times all the neighborhoods getting all upset. And so you're impacting folks' homes and pocketbooks. This is a democratic process, and we need to continue to work in a transparent fashion. We need to continue to work with people. We won't always agree. What I'm finding is when we don't agree, we still agree that we can work together on other issues. So just give everybody a hug. That's my solution.
Thank you. Next question. And by the way, this question will start with Madeline. First responder will be Madeline. Progress has been stalled on planning for North Redwood Corridor for over 18 months. What specifically would you do to successfully restart and finish the planning process for this area? What's your time frame? And what's your vision for successful North Redwood Corridor? Madeline.
Well, I think you got it right. It is about 18 months that it's been delayed. We had some real good momentum going there. Wonderful forum put on by the Chamber in February of 2010, where I think we got great feedback from those that are very knowledgeable about development. I think we need to restart that process. I don't think we need to duplicate it. I think we need to come up with a plan for how we're going to reactivate North Redwood Corridor work, as well as the general plan update. And I believe it's actually on our agenda in October as a council to do that. I think what we need to have in the North Redwood Corridor is some predictability, some understanding ahead of time, so that when we do have, the economy does begin to pick up, and we do have developers that are interested in coming in, that we have some certainty around that area, so that when people come in, they know how to proceed and what to expect. And that's what I think we need to get back on track very soon. Thanks.
Madeline, thank you. Leslie?
Well, with uncertainty around whether or not our housing element's going to be approved, it's almost as though you have to have two plans. The plan you started with 18 months ago and the plan you're going to have in case you can't get your housing element approved. So it would be nice if we could get started, but I think that a working group that the city manager put together should now be included in the conversation, because those 20 individuals have done so much work and have so much insight now that I think they should be added to the conversation. So it might be a little bit revised from what was started 18 months ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Next is Eric.
I think one of the first things we can do to get the project and get this back on track is to get the General Plan Steering Committee meeting again. It's been many, many months since they've even met, and there's members on that steering committee that don't even know what's going on because they haven't received communication. So getting that group working together, talking together, again, will certainly get this dialogue started. And I think if we've learned anything in the past several months is that the more dialogue and open and clear communication we have with the public, the better off we're going to be. I think that once the recommendations are made, I really, if elected to the council, would really take to heart the recommendation provided by the working group. I know historically sometimes we set these working groups out there and they come back with all these great recommendations, and then it gets completely changed when it comes to council. Some of that is going to happen, but I think we can't have complete change based on the recommendations that are given. Otherwise, what's the point of having a working group or a committee?
Thanks, Eric. Jean?
Yes, there's been a lot of public process and input on this project for quite a while now, and it's time for a design solution. Committees can't design projects like this. You can get all kinds of wonderful input, but as an architect, I know the architect, the land planner, takes all these wonderful ideas and they work out a solution that takes these intangible concepts and makes it into a tangible form. So I'm suggesting we hire a land planner that has excellent skills and reputation. We have them collaborate with design review folks and planning commission, continue to get public input along the way, set design parameters. What do you want Redwood Corridor, the Redwood actually to look like? What do you want the setbacks to be, the height and bulk of the buildings? How do you want to handle parking? All those things, but let's get to the design of it and get it moving. I think it probably realistically should start at the beginning of the year, but get professionals in and peer review so we know we've got something we can market, but that's also in character with Novato. Thank you.
Jean, thank you. Eleanor, the question is about the North Redwood Corridor.
I wrote it down. Oh my goodness, so much. I do agree with Jean, and it's like one of the suggestions coming up, especially about spending $15 million for the downtown offices. The downtown offices can still be downtown. There's other options there on saving money. And so how does this relate to the Redwood Corridor with the planning? And the planning may come from the American Institute of Architects. And what they can do is look at the economics and look at our town and give us a plan, because that's been the problem. Too many people saying, well, we want this and this and this. We need expert opinions. And Redwood Corridor, I'm for aesthetics. I'm for keeping the buildings low. I'm for keeping where the commercial can go, and where will this new housing go. So it's all a mixture, which means we have to have the whole public involved. Retail, business, public, and council, and staff. And 3/4 of it should be from the public.
Thank you, Eleanor. Leslie, you're the first responder to the next question, which is, there is some public opposition to spending approximately $12 to $15 million on city offices in downtown because of perceived adverse impact on parking and because of a perception that a hard-nosed financial analysis of the alternatives has not been done. Do you favor reopening the discussion on downtown city offices? If so, why? Leslie.
Well, I do in favor of reopening it, and I understand that means that here we go again. No one ever likes anything in Novato. It's hard to get anything done, but we are moving through very fluid times right now, and frankly, that particular project, although if you look at it in the drawings, looks lovely, I honestly think that we don't have the money, and we won't have. This is going to not cost us $15 million. By the time we're done with it, it's going to be more like 40. And I think that there are better options right now than to put in a brand new building that will eat up some parking and will be vacant 3 days out of the week, since we're down to a 4-day work week for that building. I think we have to look at it again. We're in very fluid times. The market is terrible for real estate, and I think that maybe there's a better deal for us out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Eric?
I'm definitely interested in keeping options open. Currently, I'd be curious to find out what the actual costs are going to be for the proposed plan. In the meantime, I think we need to continue to look at any and all options that are on the table. $15 million investment is going to be going in, if it comes at that price, is going to be going into a building that's going to save us $650,000 a year in a lease payment. But it's also going to cost a lot of money to manage that building. So when it's all said and done, we are probably only, based on different assumptions, maybe cutting $300,000, $350,000 in expenses. That's a very, very, very small return on a $15 million investment. If we didn't have a $3 million structural budget deficit on the horizon, maybe we could make that investment. But what we have looking 3 years out, I want to see if we can we want to be able to best utilize those funds so we're not in a position where we have to continue to cut city services and city staff that have been cut so far to the bone already.
Eric Lucan, thank you. Jean?
I do not favor reopening. This has been going on for 30 years. The Taj Mahal was designed in the 80s. Keep all the old buildings was in the 90s and the early 2000s. We now have a plan that's the simplest ever. It's a generic office building, 2 levels, rectangular, over parking. There is no loss of parking downtown, except when we're using the building. We're working with management to manage staff parking so that we don't have a lot of excess vehicles on the lot. I also would, so no net loss. And there's no shortage of parking downtown right now. When the city isn't in operation, weekends and evenings, the theater can use it and other businesses and so forth. The cost of 12 to 15 million includes everything, including the kitchen sink, and we are determined to get the cost down, and we have competitive bidding. I would also say this is redevelopment money that was owed the general fund. It can only be used for capital improvements. It cannot be used for the general fund. So it's well worth getting out of our long-term lease payments. Thank you.
Thank you. Eleanor?
Yes, regarding that money, it is all about the budget. And the city in the future will need to replace storm drains, will need to replace other utilities, we'll need to help Hamilton with a theater, we need to help our Novato theater, and we need to really look at the community house. Is it beneficial to tear it down? Is it more beneficial to just use the first floor and put parking there or put city offices there? It's because that whole area near the theater and near the other restaurants that are open is very important to the businesses downtown. So to me, it makes sense that this money for capital improvements, which it can only be spent for, has to be re-looked at, because to spend 15 million, and when we have other options, we could put people even down, split up City Hall. You put community development at the church, and you can also, church icon, you could put city departments over at Hill Middle School. The school needs help. So how can we work as businesses and as the public to really look at this $15 million being spent?
This has been a 30-year churn. We have come up with every different combination and never gotten anything done. I think it's time for us to show leadership, time for us to make a decision, time for us to bring our city center back downtown. We did a very exhaustive review of different options. We had many meetings about this, and a lot of what's coming up now, I think we are going to be addressing. For instance, the parking. We have a parking study this thick that's given us very strong recommendations on what we need to do. We're going to carry that out, including where employees park, really enforcing our policies downtown about parking, which we really haven't done over the years. In terms of the dollars, I think we're going to be very smart about keeping the costs down. Just to the south in Sausalito, they had a very favorable bid situation and saved money. And I think that we can do that too, but we can only do that if we get on it now, while the climate is right. So I don't favor reopening. I think we've made a good decision, and I think the community is going to appreciate it for years and years to come.
Ellen, thank you.
The process of starting a business was very difficult, but then I've also recently heard from individuals that it was very easy. I spoke with the owner of this building, this restaurant right here, because I was curious how it was working with the city, and he said it was a total breeze. I was very encouraged to hear that. I think we need to continue to talk with our business owners to learn from their experiences, learn what's working, and not just necessarily, it's very easy to focus on what we're doing wrong, but we need to learn on what we're doing right so we can continue to do that. As far as continuing to attract new businesses and removing some of that red tape that stands in the way, I think that we need to continue, or we need to provide incentives that reduce or eliminate business fees for businesses that are coming in to buy or lease office space in high vacant areas. Provide those incentives so that we have those businesses coming here, and then just to recap, to learn from the businesses that have come here on how we could continue to do a better job.
Thanks, Eric. Jane?
Yes, over the past decade, as you've said, we even had a committee that looked at permit streamlining. When I got it, I said, my gosh, you've been at this for 8 years, why isn't it streamlined? And so I think in some cases we do a good job, as was raised on this project and others. Where we have a real problem is with our land use. We need clarity in our general plan and our land use, so that any new project has certainty coming in. Right now, they don't know if they can build 40 units or 2 units. And it's really at the whim of the neighbors and the council as to what they can ultimately build. And of course, now the state's telling us what to do, and that's just another add to the mix of uncertainty. We need some fee incentives. Right now, even second units, $60,000 for permits. A house, much higher than that, single family home. When we built our house 25 years ago, fees were about $3,000. They're now in the 60+ range. So for big developments, they're even higher. We need to really look at our fees and create some incentives.
Gene, thank you. Eleanor?
Yes, I think it's the idea of the process itself that we have to look at, and the reason people want to be involved, businesses, again, the public, the neighborhoods. What is the future here? Because of the internet, and we haven't talked about technology, no one's asked that question. With many of the businesses now becoming home businesses and getting on the internet and having things shipped to you. So we will need this whole thing with the post office losing money, we will need different kinds of businesses in the future. So commercial, just having stuff to shop. We have children here that need more than just shopping. We have a program that's going to help our teenagers stop drinking. I mean, there's something wrong if we don't have, as parents and retail businesses and public, involved with our children for the future. So the whole community really has to work together, come to the table, and have forums and discuss this. We can do a good plan. Thank you.
Eleanor, thank you. Madeline?
I'm going to go back to February 2010 when we had that forum. We had a variety of panelists, one of whom was involved with the Hamilton Marketplace. And we heard a lot about how we need to have a predictable process. We need to, when we redo our general plan, it has to have a roadmap in there so that when people have an interest in our city, they kind of know what to expect, not a bait and switch and dragging it out. And yes, Eric, I heard the same about this facility here. I was delighted to hear that they had a good experience. But I think we need to learn from that. What worked in that case? What can we do so that if there's certain staff that really know how to do it, how do we make sure all our staff really know how to work effectively with developers? I also think we need to take a look at a study we did when I first came to the council by management partners that examined the design review, the planning commission, the city council. What happens at each one of those levels? How can we streamline that? So I think there's more we can do, and I want to work on that as one of my priorities in the next 4 years.
Thanks, Madeline. Leslie?
I don't think there's anything I can add. We need a predictable process. We have to have incentives. And again, I think the mindset sometimes is that revenue enhancements get turned into how can I charge a fee in another way to a business here. What I've heard talking to people is they feel as though the city perceives that their pockets are limitless. And I don't think that's good for business. I do think that we need to be helping small and medium business because that's the part that will always be here. You can't rely on enormous businesses. If you look at our general plan, right in the middle of it, we've got Mindscape and I think it's Autodesk listed in the plan. So, you know, if you start relying on these big businesses for how you want to cater everything, I think you need to talk to the people who are the little guys who are here day in, day out, and I mean little meaning me, single proprietor. Talk to people who are small business, medium business, who have found the city to be difficult to work with.
Thanks, Leslie. Now we'll start with the questions from the audience. Let me emphasize that a number of people have written long sentences, lots of comments, which means there's multiple issues, so that the candidates can answer really the topic. The prime things from a particular question, not multiple. So if you recognize your question, don't feel bad. Let's start with the first one from the audience. How do you, and by the way, the first responder will be Jean. How do you plan on increasing foot traffic to our downtown businesses? Another way of saying it is, how will you support our downtown businesses? Jean McCleamy.
First of all, the stores need to stay open. And 4th Street, Berkeley apparently works because there's one guy that owns everything and he tells them to stay open. They have to stay open weekends, they have to stay open evenings and so forth. So that's one. The other is to have really great restaurants, which we have many of, really specialty retail, artisan bakeries, that kind of thing. We have to get our theater open. The city's already invested over $500,000 in that theater. We've got a wonderful partnership moving forward, great enthusiasm if we get some more destinations like the theater, if we can get a partnership to get the community house open. We've already seen that the Civic Green, where we tore away the old bungalows and we restored City Hall, the Civic Green has been an incredible venue just this past week. To raise, say, almost $50,000 for the theater. So we now have a community gathering place. We need more destinations. There's plenty of parking. Whole Foods has 21 spaces just waiting for somebody to park in it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Number 2 is Eleanor.
Yes. Foot traffic is a good way to
to be increased for the downtown, but more than that, it's going to be the parking. Many of the people I've talked to, especially the seniors, is that they want to park close to the businesses. They want to park mainly the restaurants and the theater, which means you have to really get a parking lot. And if that means tearing down the community house and just making that one area as parking, so when you come into Novato, then you'll see the parking. And it's like when you have parking spaces, it's like, oh yeah, I want to park there. That's easy to walk to restaurants, easy to walk to the stores, and have a good time downtown. And that same thing is going to happen on Redwood Boulevard. Parking will be an issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Madeline?
Well, I think we've already seen with the green that we've had events there, that's brought people downtown. I myself spent some money downtown on my way to the green just the other day. So I think the green, I think the theater, getting that activated again. We have a wayfinding project that will really help direct people into downtown. If we take the recommendations from the parking study, a lot of that's low-hanging fruit. That will make it easier for people to navigate into our downtown. I also think we need to do some work on figuring out what it is people want to come downtown for. You know, we've had some closures. Some of us have been asking, you know, some of the shops that are closing, why. And I think we need to look at what are the needs of Novatans. What are we leaving town for, and how can we bring those types of retailers and restaurants here to our town? We have a wine bar opening very soon, which will be really exciting. That's going to bring some vibrancy. And I think we all need to remind each other and ourselves, shop local. This is what we need to do. This is our town. Keep our dollars here.
Thanks, Madeline. Leslie?
Well, again, this is a great question, simple answer. You know what? I personally really wasn't shopping downtown. I really have to be honest. Until I got involved in this issue with housing, I pretty much had sort of started the old mail it in, go to Nordstrom, whatever. But once I got involved in this and started to go downtown, it absolutely amazed me how many wonderful stores there were and how little I ever heard about it from anybody. So I've become a huge advocate, and I can't say enough times that every chance I get now, I want to buy it here. It may cost me a little bit more, and maybe, you know, with the taxes, sales tax up a little bit more. But in the end, I'm saving on gas. I'm helping a local business, and it is truly, we have a vibrant little area down there, but they're suffering, and they're in kind of a slump because they look at the neighbor across the way who's closed their store, and they want to know when it's going to be their turn to close their store or when they'll have to. So I think we have to collectively all start to shop, shop, shop.
Eric? Thanks, Leslie.
I talk to a lot of people and get ideas from people in the community and say, well, what is it that's going to bring people downtown? Is it more parking? Is it the theater? Is it more retail? Is it more restaurants? And the answer is yes. It's all of those things. I don't believe that you could pinpoint any one item and say, if we have this, that is the answer. We need all of those. If you look at downtown Novato's business mix, 33% of our downtown businesses are retail and restaurants. San Rafael is closer to 80%. We need to continue to move that up. We need to continue to bring that critical mass so that there are more options, there are more restaurants, there are more places to shop, there are more reasons to go downtown. And with that, yes, the theater's a part of it, the parking's a part of it. So we just need to continue to move in that direction and attract more businesses to downtown.
Thanks, Eric. Eleanor, you'll be the first responder to the next question from the audience. Downtown San Rafael has zoning allowing 100 units per acre of density for homes, resulting in vibrant, healthy local businesses with workforce housing. That is more than 3 times as dense as Novato's mandate. If it works in San Rafael, why can't it work in Novato? Eleanor.
And that's debatable who you talk to about San Rafael, because they're building up where the transit hub is going to be, and there's no guarantee the smart train's going to be ever there. So they're going to have these 4- or 5-story, 6-story buildings, concrete and asphalt. This is not Novato. So Also, the Target store, they are bringing in 90 people from out of town to work there. So it's not even implying bringing in business, bringing in, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, Target is not the best thing for San Rafael. San Rafael is split now. On the west side, you have high businesses. On the east side, you have a poverty-stricken area that needs tons and tons of resources to help in the schools. So these are, we are not San Rafael. We are unique. And again, we have a bouquet to work with. We do not want to be a can of sardines.
Eleanor, thank you. Madeline.
San Rafael has a very, very different history and a very different pattern. When you look at it, it really is a confluence of a number of very large major roads. I think it works for San Rafael. San Rafael has a more urban feel. Novato does not. And I think when you look at our general plans over the years and probably what we'll be doing moving forward, we're always going to have a smaller scale feel about our town. So I think what's important is for us to look at what really meets our needs. I think that's one of the reasons we push back around the housing density, because the flavor of our town has always been more rural, always been more suburban. So I don't think that's going to fit here, and I think that's going to be one of the things we're going to need to address in our general plan update to make sure that we are keeping a scale that really meets our needs and yet also accommodates the small bit of growth that we will be having over the years.
Thanks, Madeline. Leslie?
Well, when we first moved here from the East Coast, we rented a house in San Rafael to try to figure out where we wanted to live. And the one thing we figured out in the year we were there was we didn't want to be in San Rafael. So if we want to look like San Rafael, frankly, I'll go there. I'll live there. We are not a city. We are a little town. And yes, it's the same number of people, but we're just set up differently here. I would argue that it looks like it's working right now, but let's wait 5 years and see what they've done looks like in 5 years. Because San Rafael has changed recently, and I'm not so sure if you went door to door to those retailers who are there right now, they'd say the same thing about, being happy with the way this looks. I'm not so sure. They've got lots of people standing around the street corners now that they didn't used to have. And frankly, I don't know. Give it 5 years and then see if you can still say that it's working in San Rafael.
Leslie, thank you. Eric?
I think what works in one city is certainly not necessarily what's going to work here. Are there things that we can learn from San Rafael and how they've done it? Sure, but there's certain things that Novato is different. Novato is unique. So while we can learn from Petaluma, from San Rafael, we're different. I think when it comes to densities, we need to continue to work with our residents. I think we have a very clear understanding of the densities that our residents want, that fit within the character of Novato, and I think we need to continue to work with our elected officials to stay with those within those densities. We know the system is broken. It might be a different story if the state wasn't coming in and taking money out of our pocket. But considering the situation we're in, if they're taking money away and then basically putting mandates on you, that's a very the system's broken. I can't think of a better way to put it than that. So
Thanks, Eric. Jean?
Yes, the city of Novato is very unique. It has natural borders of hillside, wetlands, and farmland on all our edges. We also don't have Highway 101 going down the middle of town like San Rafael does. We're really blessed that our founding fathers saw fit to move 101 to the east of town. San Rafael is too dense for my liking, and I'm sure for a lot of the people that have chosen to live in Novato. I think it is getting seedy. I hope I haven't offended anyone, but when you get that many people in a confined space, it's going to change the character of town. Novato has zoning ordinances downtown that allow the third story to be housing. Amazingly, no owner has taken us up on that. It could be our fees are too high, our process is too onerous, all those things, but there is plenty of opportunity for people to live downtown. Whole Foods, a lot of people like it, a lot of people don't, but there's wonderful opportunity for folks to live there, and they do, and they shop and enjoy downtown services.
Gene, thank you. Madeline, you're next up, answering the question first. Recent issues, affordable housing, new civic offices, etc., have caused some to say the city is not open with information. Some have suggested city staff are managing the council. What's your opinion on city openness and information flow? Madeline.
Well, I think there is a lot of information out there. I think I had the conversation the other day with someone about the city offices. I think what we need to make sure we're doing is reaching out to groups that the information is there. The example was used that, wow, we didn't realize the city office thing was going on because we were focused on affordable housing. You know, everyone has a certain amount of bandwidth. I know the community does. When you have so much on your plate already, running a household, children, taking care of your parents, I think we need to continue doing a even better job getting information out there so people know about it, engaging people in the work of the city. There's many, many things going on, but I think we, started doing some of that with the email list that people can sign up for, by putting things on patch. But I think it's something that we need to continue to work more on moving forward because there's so much going on, and we have to find creative ways of getting information out so people can come and give us their feedback.
Thank you very much, Madeline. Leslie.
Well, I actually think they are open, and I think there actually is an information flow. I think the problem is that the information is usually about 6 inches deep and not very straightforward in what you have. So that when you are a community member and you are trying to get your arms wrapped around whatever the issue is that the city's faced with that you want to know about, you basically have to do so much work. You have to quit your day job to be able to spend your time sifting through everything that they provide for you because they drown you in information. So I think it needs to be simplified in some way so that you can sort of get to the nut of it because, frankly, it's an amazing amount that the council members are expected to juggle. And anytime a community member steps forward and wants to find out about something, well, we've got a consultant working on that. The consultant's got a thing, it's 25 pages long. It's a lot of information, and you're left sorting it out, and frankly, it's paralyzing people.
Thanks, Leslie. Eric?
Are there improvements that can be made? Absolutely. I think if we look back over the past couple of years, we always have to remember that we've made very, very severe cuts to our city staff. And with that, I believe that they've still done a very good job at getting the information out there. Have mistakes been made on certain occasions? Sure. Is that going to continue to happen? It might. Are there things that we can do to improve it? Absolutely. One of the things that I'm always committed to and will stand for is transparency. Open government. I believe the more people that we could have involved in the process, the better, where we can slow down. There's some decisions that don't necessarily have to be rushed through, but there are certain things that we can't just drag our feet on forever. So it's a balance game, and certainly I'm committed to putting all of my time and effort into getting this information to best represent the citizens of Novato. I think not everybody has the time to do all of this, and that's why we have elected officials that can really dig deep into the data on our behalf, and that's what I hope to do.
Eric Lucan, thank you. Gene McCleamy.
With a town the size of Novato, which is about 52,000, residents have a wonderful opportunity to be able to contact and talk directly to their council members. And campaign contributions are so small that there are no special favors. And we don't get paid enough. We don't get paid enough to be bad or mean or divisive. We're basically working for free up here. I don't know if any of you new candidates knew that, but it's a volunteer job.
No pension?
No pension. Well, tiny pension. So we got to work on that too.
Whoa,
Yeah, just think, you're going to have to change your tune. Wow. Anyway, but there are quicker, easier ways to get information. There's no doubt about it. Novato has had televised council meetings for years. Gail Myers has been at council meetings for years. Without the passionate participation of all these people on housing and so forth, she wouldn't have any company. So she is thrilled to have people there. We need to do a better job, obviously, at council and staff of getting information to be simple and clear. But believe me, there's no room deals being made.
Gene, thank you. Eleanor Sluice.
Yes, on city openness, it's a catch-22 because the mayor, not the mayor, excuse me, but the city manager had advised the council, from what I understand, not to go forward with the $15 million expenditure over and putting a building on parking, and instead to relook at it, whereas the council then has been inept in a way of not looking at the whole community. So it goes to furthering the technological aspects, because if you look at the city, the school district, they put their information on the web. And we have limited information. The website needs to be changed. It should be easy enough for a fifth grader to get onto it and do research and get information. So the first thing I would change to increase openness would be the website.
Thanks, Eleanor. Next and last question from the audience before we go to closing statements. And the first responder will be Leslie Peterson Schwartz. Leslie, do you think new businesses will be attracted to Novato if there is a lack of affordable home options for its employees?
Yes.
Thank you, Leslie. Eric.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes, I have plenty of time. Do you think new businesses... Thanks, Leslie. Do you think new businesses will be attracted to Novato if there is a lack of affordable home options for its employees? Do you think that they'll be attracted to Novato?
Yeah, I think certain businesses will be attracted. I think it's possible there might be some businesses that are not as attracted without having some of those options, though.
Thanks, Eric. Jane.
I definitely think businesses will be attracted here. This is just an incredible place to live and work and recreate. And so we have housing. We have a variety of housing. We have lots more housing than a lot of other folks in this county. And it's not affordable because we have so many land use restrictions. We value our hillside and ridgeline and our urban growth boundary. This is a value to us. So housing is going to be more expensive, and we don't want high-density living. So people are just going to have to commute and find other ways. One way is to have second units, so that when you have a bigger parcel, people could have a unit over the garage, something like that. But I think businesses will have to just be smarter about telecommuting and that kind of thing.
Gene, thank you. Eleanor.
I got it. Okay. The businesses which I've heard about that need to be attracted, for number one, would be the Buck Institute up here employs quite a few people. We need people who have a scientific, technological knowledge with support from the service communities. We need to make our community more attractive for innovative companies. And that comes up to our young people really being creative and innovative, whether they're going to be graphic artists. Again, technology is here, and we have to work with this. We need businesses with high ethical and moral standards. And that is what I'm finding. We do have 99% of our businesses have that. We want to continue having those type of businesses for the good people of Novato.
Thank you, Eleanor. Madeline.
Yes, I think that new businesses will continue to be attracted to Novato. We have one that was very innovative, the Buck, and the work that they're doing with their housing up on the hill. I think that's a wonderful example of a creative approach to how to have people closer to their work. We're going to be having a conversation soon about second units. And we also, with the work of our working group and staff and council, are on the process of a housing element, which does identify some housing opportunities along the spine of our city, including a site right near the Trader Joe's area. So I think we will have some opportunities down the road. And one other thing just to toot the horn about, in the 1103 bill that was passed and signed by the governor, we will be able to look at foreclosed homes and bringing those into the affordable mix. So I think we're there.
What a good group of candidates. I mean, this is a terrific forum. We're going to conclude right now with each of you having 90 seconds to give us your reasons why you should be the next member of the Novato City Council. We're going to do it in exact opposite role of how we started. If you remember, Eleanor started. This time, Eleanor will conclude. And the order will be as follows. Jean McCleamy, Eric Lucan, Leslie Peterson-Schwartz, Madeline Kellner, Eleanor Sluice. 90 seconds. Again, terrific group of people. Thank you. Jean.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event and Northwestern Pacific for having us all here this morning. And, of course, all of you for coming. I want to thank Dick Spotswood. You've done a magnificent job, as always, keeping us on track. And I want to thank all the candidates for sticking to the issues. And there was no name-calling or any rage or anything like that. That was great. And I especially want to thank the residents of Novato for being of strong character and having the love and passion for Novato and for being engaged. I want to encourage the residents and all of you, of course, to stay engaged, although I don't think I have to encourage you to do that. As I've said, I would love to continue working on 3 overarching issues that will ensure a safe, vibrant, sustainable Novato. It's fiscal stability and sustainability and responsibility, having sufficient income to cover our expenses plus long-term needs, including high priority on public safety, and that would include pension reform and partnering with others. The second overarching issue is facilities, including permanent city offices and repurposing existing buildings. Land use is the third priority, continuing collaboration with others to limit the state control over our land use and amending our general plan that balances our environment, neighborhoods, housing, and revenue needs. I have a record of listening to others' ideas and getting information, doing my homework, and getting major things accomplished. And with my experience as an architect, business owner, and council member, I would be honored to continue working together for all of you for Novato. Thank you for your support.
Jean, thank you. Eric?
I want to thank again the Novato Chamber of Commerce for putting this candidates forum together. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to present my ideas and vision for Novato. If there's one thing that you take away about me today, it's that I hope that my passion and my dedication to our community stands out. Novato has been my home throughout my entire life, and I appreciate everything Novato has to offer. Our city has a tremendous sense of community which can be found nowhere else in Marin, and I want to preserve and build upon these values, which I believe makes Novato unique. Community service is very important to me, and it's why I want to serve you on the City Council. I have spent years working with Novato youth, supporting the Novato Police Department, and serving on the Parks and Recreation Commission. Right now, we need leaders who will take on the tough issues facing our city. I have a strong business background that will allow me to make sound fiscal decisions and develop a financially sustainable budget, and I will work tirelessly to revive Novato's image and bring economic vitality to our downtown. I'm ready to bring innovative ideas and renewed energy to our local government. I believe it's time for a new voice on the City Council, and I'm prepared to provide that leadership. It'd be my honor to represent you, and I humbly ask for your vote. If you'd like to learn more about my campaign, please visit my website, ericlucan.com. I also have some cards in the back. You could find me on Facebook. I've been sitting at 599 friends for the past couple days, so go home. Maybe you'll get me over that 600 mark. I'd appreciate it. And grab a card in the back. Thank you very much.
Eric Lucan, thank you. Leslie Peterson-Schwartz.
I grew up in Colorado, went to college in Missouri, started my career in Los Angeles, and began a family in the New York metropolitan area. Each and every one of these places has its own unique personality, but of all the places that I've lived, Novato's my favorite. I love that even though this is a town of 50,000 people, it's still a small town. Everyone knows everyone through all their activities, be it soccer, Rotary, Chamber, church, 4-H, you name it. What I love the most is that about the town is that we're so involved. We're doers. Someone once contrasted us with Southern Marin by saying in Southern Marin, when faced with a problem, they pick up a cocktail, and in Novato, they pick up a shovel. And I think that's very true, and I'm glad I'm a shovel owner. Instead of cowering at the onslaught of criticism about our civic behavior, I'm incredibly proud of our town's ability to analyze a problem, speak up about injustices, and then come up with solutions. I believe my previous experience on the school board will make me an asset to the City Council. I have 12 years of experience in balancing budgets, making cuts, negotiating contracts through collective bargaining, and making policy decisions that affected 7,500 children and the 800 adults who work for the school district. I understand our community, and I want to apply my knowledge as a City Council member. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today.
Leslie, thank you. Madeline Kellner.
I want to thank the Chamber and all of you today for your active participation in this debate. This has been, I think, a great exchange of ideas and the beginning, I think, of more dialogue over the next several months. I've been very honored to serve you for the last 4 years. This last year as mayor, I think we've made some great dents in a lot of the work that we have set out to do together, but there is more to do. And the priorities that I set 4 years ago are still there. We've made progress, but we have more to carry out. We have our budget that we need to work on. We've got to work now. We can't wait for 5 years to come around on that tax. We need to have a plan now. We need to continue to address our infrastructure issues. Getting our city hall up and running was a wonderful accomplishment, but we have more to do with our city offices and also with activating Hamilton. Downtown, we need to get back on that Redwood Corridor work. We need to get the wayfinding going downtown and really bring more vibrancy in terms of more retail and restaurants. We need to work together more. We've started some great work with the school district around the Hamilton Gym. I think we've got more work we could be doing with the sanitary district, water district, fire district. You know, we're all here together. We need to really use our resources better together. I've been honored this year to serve as your mayor. I bring over 25 years of experience running large organizations. I do my homework. I listen to all sides. I'm a steady and reasonable voice. And I want to continue to serve you over the next 4 years and ask respectfully for your vote. Thanks.
Madeline Kellner, thank you. Eleanor Sluice.
Yes. Again, just Google me because you'll find that I'm there. And my website, too. All the things I've spoken about. I am persistent. I'm also from Missouri. The buck stops here with me. I want to listen. I do listen to what people are saying, and that includes children and adults. And so one of the things, again, we have to look at is I am a gardener, so we need to cut out waste in our budget and snip, snip. We need to really look again at Novato as a bouquet of many diverse, beautiful people, the good people of Novato, and what we want as the public, and how can we influence the city council. And on the city council, that's who I'm going to be working for, is the public, along with the businesses. Because, again, think of packed sardines. That is not what we want for Novato. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. If this morning was an example of rage in Novato, I would like to go to a laid-back meeting in Novato. That really would be wonderful. Just the experience. Yeah, this is really, what a great group. First of all, I've got to thank our candidates, Eleanor Sluice, Madeline Kellner, Leslie Peterson-Swartz, Eric Lucan, and Gene McCleamy. They showed their respect for you by coming today. Remember, there's 7 candidates. These 5 candidates showed their respect for you by coming. You showed your respect for them in the process by the intelligent questions you and the chamber asked. And you all everybody deserves a giant round of applause. Particularly Patsy White, by the way, who was our timer here. Polite, wasn't mean, but accurate. And the Chamber of Commerce, I thank them for inviting me, and I have to thank the Chamber because under Coy Smith and his staff and his board of directors, the Novato Chamber of Commerce is one of the premier Chamber of Commerces, not in Marin, in the North Bay. And you have a vital community in part because you have a vital Chamber of Commerce, and you have a vital community because people care and love about Novato. Your presence here shows it now. In the next 2 months, these good folks will have a chance to really get out and meet the folks, talk to them, and 3 of these good people will be serving you as your counselor for the next 4 years. Thanks for inviting us all, and have a nice day. Quite anything else? Good. Thanks, everybody.